What is going on, everyone? Casey Adams here. Welcome back to the Rise of the Young podcast. Today we have my man Ben Kaplan here with us. Thanks so much for coming on the show, man.
Thanks for having me.
So we've been in contact for quite some time on
sir.
Instagram, in the DMs, and your story and what you've built is incredible. You're a partner at Fuck Jerry, the creator of What the Meme, and you say head of security of @DudeWithSign.
Yeah.
That's a lot there, but for everyone that's watching this, they definitely know what Fuck Jerry is. Where did this start, and what was your involvement from the beginning?
Sure. How's it going, guys? I can't take credit for any of the early days of Fuck Jerry. My business partner, Elliot Tabelli, was sitting on Tumblr, actually, before Instagram even came out, and started posting kind of things that he thought were interesting. So anything from like sneakers to basketball to cars and comedy. And what he noticed pretty quickly, and especially when he started posting on Instagram too when it first came out, was people engage a lot more with the comedy. And so he kind of took that and ran with it, but he never had, I think, in the early days, the vision to make it like his full-fledged business. It was more of like a passion project hobby. But and then about 4.5 years ago, his best friend from growing up, a guy named Eli Ballas, joined him to help on like the business side of things. And then I joined as the third guy. And my initial kind of responsibility was helping them with monetization. So I was focused on working with brands, working with agencies to find ways to make money for having an Instagram account. Because contrary to popular belief, I think a lot of people that don't know, like, you don't just get paid by Instagram for having followers. You have to figure out different scrappy ways to make money.
100%. And where did the name Fuck Jerry originally come from?
It's as simple as he was watching Seinfeld. He's actually a big Seinfeld fan. And he just thought it'd be an eye-catching, funny thing. And, you know, looking back, would he have named it that knowing it'd be a real business? I don't know, but it definitely is memorable, and I think that helps in the long run.
100%. Yeah. So when did What the Meme come into the picture?
Yeah, so about 6 months into me working with them on Fuck Jerry, I was around memes all day long. And I was actually playing Cards Against Humanity in Lake Tahoe. And I was just like kind of thinking memes, you know, how does this look as a meme? I was like helping with branded memes for ads for, you know, clients and stuff. So my mind was kind of already thinking in memes. Cards Against Humanity kind of made like playing it and that weekend kind of like reminded me that there's party games. And then coincidentally, the three of us went to a meeting at Kickstarter. Nothing to do with What Do You Meme? It was purely like a business.
The crowdfunding
the crowdfunding website. They were in Brooklyn. Actually, it's a quick funny story. Kanye West, like 4 years ago, tweeted that he was $53 million in debt. I don't know if you remember this. Yeah,
isn't it like Kim Kardashian like bailed him out? Is that the whole story?
Something. So the three of us thought it'd be funny to make a Kickstarter, like a crowdfunding for Kanye, with the target goal of $53 million. And we ended up submitting the campaign. We spent like 2 hours putting it together. It was obviously cheeky and funny. And they actually replied to us, like the head of their strategy, and said, "Hey,
Kickstarter.
Unfortunately, we can't accept this because you're not able to like raise money for a person, probably for like human trafficking reasons. But we know you're in Manhattan, we're in Brooklyn. You know, we're big fans. Why don't you guys come in and let's see what we can do together?" So we were at that meeting and kind of just like wanting to learn more about Kickstarter. We asked what sort of projects are like the most popular on Kickstarter, and card games and party games kept coming up. So we kind of left that meeting thinking, okay, it would be cool if Fuck Jerry launched a card game, right? And then the Lake Tahoe weekend happened where I was playing Cards Against Me, and I kind of had a light bulb moment where I was like, there could be a similar game where players compete to make a meme, basically. And that's how it happened.
And it was born.
It was born, yeah.
So when you had that thought, like what was the time frame from thinking about that to it actually being a product on the market selling?
For sure. All in, it was probably 6 months. The first step, which I encourage everyone to do, is like just make something. You don't have to like know a factory in China to produce a card game. What I did was went to a printer and printed out 30 memes from the internet. And what I wanted to test was if like caption A would work on photo B. So I literally printed them out, cut the caption off, and I was like playing around on my table. I didn't, know where it was going, but I wanted to see if like this caption worked with this meme or it actually was funnier. And what I found was that sometimes the off combinations
were better.
And what I knew about working with Fuck Jerry was like everyone loves memes, everyone loves consuming memes, but there's a very few percentage of people on the internet who actually make them. But everyone loves them. So what Do You Meme allowed people to do was actually make memes, which my theory was everyone would love. And fortunately it did do what we hoped it would in terms of popularity.
You guys crushed that one. I mean, you guys are in Target and all over the retail world as well, correct?
Yeah. I would say we're pretty much everywhere games are sold. And What Do You Mean was kind of our Trojan horse to get into Target, get into Walmart, get on Amazon. But now we sell, upwards of 70 different games. So it's a fully fledged game business. Wow.
So is that the center of, like you said, the business is the games? You have 70. I don't know. There's 70 different
70
games.
Really? 70 SKUs. Yeah. So
wow. I saw the TikTok one just came out.
Yeah,
right?
The TikTok one was big. We I would say we spend like 95% of our time on card games.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's a separate company. We split it off into its own business. That business has about 45 employees that focus every day on just card games. So everything from the production aspect to the sales, operations, marketing, everything. It's all focused on card games.
What would you say makes a card game successful? Because I have a good friend, Drama, and his girlfriend at the time, Kareen, is called We're Not Really Strangers, and it's this card game that we love. Jacqueline and I have played it before. Yeah. And it's like seeing that card game take off, I'm like, this is cool. And it reminded me of you guys when I first saw it. Yeah. Like, what do you think makes a card game succeed versus not?
Good question. There is kind of like a recipe, right? So I think from a marketing perspective, if you can have some sort of like pull in, so kind of like a shock factor, or some card that when people are scrolling through Instagram and they see this card, they're like, wait, what is this, right? Yeah. And I think it has to be different enough. Like there's been so many cards against humanity competitors, which are like the same fucking thing.
Totally.
Just blank. Yeah. Like by adding memes to it, it was different. We have we kind of have a lot of different games in different subcategories of adult party game, but everyone kind of does its own thing. As opposed to just like fill in the blank Cards Against Humanity style.
For sure.
But all the credit in the world to Cards Against Humanity. I mean, they made it. They were really the first ones to make it acceptable for people our age on a Friday night to play a card game.
Yeah, 100%.
Before that, it was like maybe Monopoly, but it wasn't what we were doing.
It's not the same.
No, so they really kind of made it acceptable, and then us and a few other people kind of came in and started creating more games.
Love that, man. I didn't know it was that extensive in terms of 70 different SKUs.
Yeah, it's a lot. Cool, man. It's a lot. We have a whole team now that's focused like on making new games. Yep. We also work with the inventor community, so people will pitch us games and we'll do a licensing deal with them. So there's no shortage of new IP.
Very cool. Yeah. How many memes would you say the brand overall creates on a daily, weekly, monthly basis? Because like you said, everyone consumes memes, but if you think about it from a hierarchy, like you guys create and spread and create that ecosystem, especially on Instagram and all over social. But what would you say what number is that when it comes to the amount of content you guys are producing and putting out there?
I have to say, on like the Fuck Jerry side of business, we kind of went in like a different direction than like a Barstool who focused on building out like a media company. Yep. We think of it as kind of using Fuck Jerry and a few of the other accounts we own, Beige Cardigan, and several others as a marketing asset for our products businesses. So, for example, Elliot started a tequila company with his brother.
Which sold, correct?
Haha has not sold. Okay, it's still a private company.
Oh, got it.
And so, you'll see every once in a while a Fuck Jerry post about Haha Tequila. Yep. That's much more efficient, and we end up getting much more ROI from that post than like doing a one-off post for, say, Burger King. It's not to say we don't do those anymore, but it's very, very rare.
Totally. Yeah. I saw it too. Isn't it where it's like the tequila comes with the card game?
Yeah, that was a cool collab.
I saw that.
Yeah, very
That's
cool.
Dope.
So we were able to get the tequila into Walgreens, and they wanted something special and something that would differentiate Haha on the shelf because they already carry so much tequila. Yeah. So we were able to kind of all the teams work together to create this party in a box, where you can get tequila, cool. get a little What Do You Meme, and keep it all in the ecosystem.
Very cool. Yeah. I want to talk about Dude with Sign.
Sure.
Where did that come into the picture? And you say you are the head of security. What does that mean in your eyes?
Yeah, that's actually just a silly joke. So Seth, who is Dude with Sign, has been my best friend for like 6 or 7 years.
Really?
Yeah, we met actually through my first company. We were doing some marketing on a college campus. I went down there to check it out in Texas, and he and I just like truly hit it off. Okay. He ended up moving to New York about a year and a half ago to work for What Do You Meme? So as we went from like one writer of our card games to building a writer's room with 5 or 6 marketing writers, we were in recruiting mode, and Seth was always kind of one of my funniest friends. Like we would always just riff all day long about various stuff. So I said, hey man, I know you're from Texas, but would you ever want to come to New York and try out being a comedy writer for What Do You Meme? And he ended up coming out for a couple weeks. The team loved him. He loved the team. He ended up getting an apartment out there, and then about, I think probably 4 or 5 months into being in our office working on What Do You Meme, he and Elliot went off to create Dude with Sign, which has truly just been the coolest thing to witness as a friend and also as part, it kind of coming from our office. It's like the guy can't even like walk down the street anymore. I mean, it's like,
he's so recognizable.
So recognizable.
Yeah.
And what's a funny soundbite is like most celebrities like put on sunglasses to hide their face when they're in public, but Seth actually gets recognized more when he has his sunglasses on because it's part of his image. So in fact, if he doesn't want to get recognized,
take them off.
I'll take them off. Which I think is
that's
hilarious.
Hilarious.
The only celebrity with dealing with that specific problem. But he's the kind of guy that he's from a small town in Texas. His kindness is contagious. Everyone loves to be around him. And despite like Rihanna and all these celebrities DMing him and all these cool collabs he's done with Justin Bieber and going on Ellen, he hasn't changed one bit. He's still the nice kid that everyone loves. So
that's cool, man.
Cool.
That's
friend.
good to hear.
Yeah, it's great.
Was it his idea, or like how did just the idea of holding a sign up and saying something funny or relatable come to fruition?
Yeah, he and Elliot had just collabed on it from inception, and Elliot has over the course of Fuck Jerry like made different posts where he'll hold up himself like a sign that says something funny.
Got it. And he just became the figurehead for that?
It was just like he would be a good fit for one sign, and then they were like, oh, maybe we could make this a separate account.
Yep.
And so they collab on it and work really well together, and
so cool.
It's been a really cool thing to see, both on like the personal side, but also just as a business. It's one of the hottest accounts in the world. So 100%. Yeah.
How often is it that you guys are going out and taking these pictures with the signs? Is it daily, or what's the strategy there?
You don't want to be posting every single day because I think you could like annoy people.
Yeah.
So I think the average cadence is 2 or 3 signs per week. It's also been interesting because right when it really started to pop off, it was like February, March. So COVID
this
happened.
Year?
Yeah, COVID
happened.
Wow. And then there was, a lot going on with like the political landscape. Yep. So to be like an account like that, you don't necessarily want to comment too much on stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So whereas like the first couple months, it was, you could say whatever was happening in pop culture and this and that. It got more serious for a second. So we actually like worked on a collaboration with Instagram to help like promote social distancing and masks and stuff like that. Also voting. Yep. But it's been a weird year to be like a account like that blowing up. But typically like 2 to 3 signs per week has been the cadence. Sometimes 1 per week, depending on what's happening in the world. Yep. Yeah.
What's been like the coolest collaboration that you've been a part of that you'd want to talk about with that sign, Dude with Sign in particular?
Oh man. I mean, within the first like 2 months, Seth went on Ellen, went on Jimmy Fallon, did a collaboration with Justin Bieber, like all within the same week. Got flown to Paris for Fashion Week.
Really?
With like I think Gucci.
What was the moment that took place for that to happen?
Yeah, the account. First, when he like started, it was just our friends. Like we would always repost it on our stories, and we thought it was really funny, and we kind of knew it was gonna be something. But like when we had a party for him when he hit 1 million followers, and we like rented out a venue, and it was like this big ordeal. And then like 2 weeks later, he hit 2 million. We were just like, we can't keep doing these parties because this is gonna get out of hand. So I would say when he hit 1 million followers, people were like starting to really think this is crazy.
For sure.
Also, keep in mind where someone like, I've actually met him, cute little kid, the yodeling Walmart boy, that was more of like a moment in time that once the news cycle passed, I mean, he's done a good job making music and stuff, Mason Ramsey, but what's beautiful about the Dude with Sign account is that it's more of a platform, just like a meme, where whatever happens in the world tomorrow, in the news tomorrow, you can make a sign about it. Yep. So it's less of a fad, and it's more of like a platform. It's more of like a form of media, which I think is really interesting and obviously was novel, and that's why the simplicity of cardboard and Sharpie allows it to just be so popular, I think.
Love that.
Yeah.
How can brands become more of a media outlet and, like crush it on social versus just being a platform that promotes their product? Because you guys do that so well. Like, what's your advice to companies that are coming already on social media, but how can they improve for marketing, sales, or what's like the high level overview that you guys either tell companies or suggest from a marketing perspective? Because you guys are at the top of the game there.
I think, what's nice about our card game business is like the content within the cards, like within the box, is so funny and shocking.
Yep.
That it kind of is a marketing asset in of itself. So someone might see one of our cards and say buzzed or what do you meme or for the girls, and that's like a joke in of itself. Yep. It's much harder to have someone stop when they're scrolling through Instagram for like a bottle of tequila or, you know, something that isn't inherently funny. So what we try to do with that business is just be like light-hearted and fun and incorporate humor into the brand. But if you look at companies like Wendy's and stuff who are really funny on social media and they're willing to take those risks and kind of be snarky, I think those companies are doing a good job. And then it's like investing in the platforms where your target demographic is. So I remember to this day, about 13 months ago, every morning, first thing I do after I drink my coffee is check the sales from the day before. So I check Amazon, I check Target, I check Walmart, I check our other sales for our games business. And every day, let's say for the girls, was selling, say at Target, 200 units on the average day.
Yep.
I woke up, checked our sales, and we sold 900 units of For the Girls. I thought, this is really interesting. Maybe there's a glitch in our system or something. So we looked into it, couldn't really figure out any errors. Woke up the next morning, we sold like 3,000 units that day of For the Girls.
Wow.
So we launched an investigation of like, what the hell is going on with this game? And sure enough, there was a trend on TikTok where these young girls were going into Target, buying our game with this one song that was trending really hard and making a video about the game. And everyone wanted the game in order to make the video for TikTok. And, you know, fast forward 13 months later, we were primarily doing all of our social on Instagram and Facebook. That was working for us. It was great. And fast forward 13 months later, I think now 40% of our marketing budget is on TikTok.
Really?
We have an ambassador network of 500 kids on TikTok. And I say kids, it's, you know,
young people that are killing it on TikTok.
Exactly. And so it's being able to say, okay, this was working yesterday, but TikTok right now is where it's at. Like, you need to double down and learn it. And like, you know, if you're not comfortable with it, hire people that are. Yep. The first step we did was have like consultants come in and just tell us everything they knew about TikTok. Kids that have been on the platform for a year. You know, it's only 2.5 years old. Yeah.
What's your vision on TikTok in the next 2 to 5 years? Is it a platform that you guys are, like you said, going all in on? Or like, how can brands best adapt to this new TikTok trend?
Yeah, I think I don't think TikTok's going anywhere. I think it's a super powerful platform. I think it allows kids and people to be really creative. And yeah, I would just advise everyone to if they're not already marketing on TikTok, to figure it out.
Love that.
Yeah.
Outside of business, like, where do you spend your time outside of the office and work? I know this year, like you said, has been a different time for you guys, you know, not being in Manhattan and you can travel a little bit more. Yeah. Like, what are some of your passions outside of business, or where do you spend your time elsewhere?
For sure. Definitely love to travel, whether it's domestically or internationally. This year's been hard for that, but
for sure.
My friends and I have made do with, you know, coming out here a bunch. We're in LA right now. I usually live in New York. Big sports and, like, you know, workout guys. So love the Miami Dolphins. We finally have a quarterback. We finally have a coach. We finally have a defense. It's exciting time for any fan. Exercising, running, working out, stuff like that. And then definitely like a social guy. I get a lot of happiness from bringing friends together, connecting different friend groups, having those fun dinners that last 4 hours. You know, that's what brings me a lot of joy.
What's your favorite restaurant in LA?
Oh man, we just went to the Olivetta for the first time. We went on Saturday. It just opened. It was very good. I'm gonna go with that.
Okay. What about New York?
Oh man, well,
top 3 if you have to.
It's been nice because during COVID, since a lot of like nightlife is shut down, restaurants with outdoor dining in the summer has kind of been one of the main social attractions. And because of that, some friends and I have gotten like pretty close with various restaurant owners.
That's dope.
So I'm gonna give them a little plug right now. There's a place called Balzem owned by Mehdi.
Okay.
That's really, really good. 19 Cleveland. Those guys have done a great job in New York, down in Soho, Nolita. And then one of my favorite restaurants actually just closed down. It was called Uncle Boone's. It was a Thai place.
Okay.
But, you know, there's so much.
Huge recommendations. I'll have to go check it out next time I'm in New York. Yeah. So with the future of social media, like, what would your advice be to someone coming on social media today? Is it saturated? How can you build an audience if you have, you know, if you're just starting today and you weren't a pioneer in the industry like you and your team were?
Yeah. I mean, like, if you look at the meme side of things, like, no new meme accounts are getting popular.
Yeah.
Like,
do you think that's permanent?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, I think like Fuck Jerry really was the first one. So we
Yeah.
just had like a huge leg up on the competition in terms of time and like building that early audience. I give Elliot so much credit for 10 years, almost every single day. He's been finding, content to post and growing that account. It's like a nonstop full-time job.
Yeah.
I think that in terms of breaking in now, TikTok's algorithm makes it pretty easy to like grow really quickly, which is cool.
Yep.
But in terms of like just social media in general, Instagram, Facebook, everything, the advice would be just do something different. Like the Nelk Boys with their pranks. No one had really done pranks since Jackass.
Yep.
And it's like a proven model, but they're just doing it new and better. We talked about Dude with Sign, like completely novel concept, right? But because it was so different and so simple, people really, mess with it. And you look at someone like Jason Derulo, who's like reinvented himself like 3 or 4
100%.
times. Just like investing in like what's working and trying to add a twist. But yeah, I'd say that's the advice.
What's your go ahead?
I mean, yeah, this is just what I'm seeing. I'm
for
not an
sure.
influencer myself. I'm more on the business side, but
Totally.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on a moment like the world record egg, which blew up and happened for a moment in time? Like, what's your thoughts on viral, making something go viral, and how do you win during those times? Because I'm sure people watching today, they've had a moment where they get some virality, but then it drops, right? And like you said, with Dude with Sign, it's like it can always grow because it's a media outlet more than a moment. Mm-hmm. So how can you create those moments based on what you guys have experienced, and what would you say the strategy is for that?
I think again, it's like doing something super novel.
Let's turn this a little bit. You're
like
good.
the egg thing was so random and weird that people and simple. Like it was so random, weird, and simple that people could just understand it within 2 seconds and
be a part of it.
Yeah. Funny story. We were actually we got very close. I believe Elliot had a term sheet from the owner. We were going to buy the account right before the Super Bowl for like $2 million and then sell it basically to do like the egg hatches at the halftime of Super Bowl.
Okay.
Sell it for like hopefully $5 or $10 million to a brand. And it would be like
the biggest thing.
Surprise or something, some crazy moment. I forget what happened. I think the kid who owned it was younger and didn't work out, but I would say just like do something different and simple. And it's so hard. I mean, like the guy drinking ocean spray on the skateboard.
Yeah, like a moment like that.
You can analyze that as much as you can, and like people will say it had every little element, but at the end of the day, like the internet's a weird place, and it's really hard to predict what people are gonna like and what people aren't gonna like.
For sure.
Some of our funniest stuff that I think it's funny gets like half the engagement as some stuff that I think is pretty silly, you know? So
love that.
Yeah.
What's because like you said, you're not an influencer yourself. Have you ever thought about trying to go all in on building your brand, or what's your thoughts on that?
No, I'm, and for those who are watching, like Casey's asked me to be on this podcast a bunch, so I finally said
finally did it.
Down. And he's 20 years old. I really appreciate and respect his grind and his hustle. I was not this entrepreneurial when I was 20, so but in
appreciate
terms of
that.
like, for sure, my brand and my press, I'm fortunate. I have a great life. I have great friends.
Yep.
And I don't need like any sort of anything like that. So I'm not. This is.
Oh, no, I love that.
This is like really one of the only interviews I'll do and have done, and at least in the short term.
Yep.
We like to. All three of us like to stay. Me, Elliot, Ellie, and my two partners. We like to kind of stay under the radar as much as we can, and
love that.
Just build our business.
Yep.
Make our employees proud, and make people laugh with our products and our content.
That's such a good mission to be part of. It's like make the world laugh.
Like the games business it's always been great. We're doubling every year, and it's been really awesome to be a part of. But a year like this, right, where people are trapped inside and they need entertainment, especially parents who they don't want their kids on their iPad for 8 hours a day. It felt good to know that games were like helping folks at least smile or laugh with their families and friends.
And bring people together.
Yeah. It was one of the few industries also that had a positive reaction to quarantine, right? Which
I was gonna say, like, was that a huge like upward trend this past year when it comes to games?
It wasn't like a celebration for us because like it felt like America was crashing and like the world was coming to an end. But the industry itself, I think, saw like a 250% increase.
Wow, just games like card games,
board games.
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, it felt good, obviously, to see the numbers go up, but it felt better to know that we were helping families like pass the time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
What were you doing back when you were 20?
Yeah. So for a while, I thought I was going to be a professional hockey player. I went to boarding school I did juniors, which most people don't know is like a in between high school and college league. So I got to college as a 20-year-old freshman for ice hockey, played Division I in a school outside of Boston. And
that's dope.
I ended up like falling in love with entrepreneurship very early on at college. Like, I think being kind of so focused on getting to Division I, my whole like adolescence, I didn't really think through business and stuff. I kind of just thought I'd get to it later. I'd figure out a career after hockey. But the truth is, I was always like growing up in a small town in Vermont and then like going to prep school in New Hampshire. I was always one of the better hockey players. And so when I got to college, my first game, a kid older than me got injured, and I started my first game. And
oh god,
the first game, I remember the opening face-off. I was staying there, and we were playing against BU, which I think won the national championship like 2 years before. And the puck dropped, and like it was just happening so fast. Everyone was moving so fast. I remember in that moment being like, okay, the guys who are the best at this level are like so much better than me, even though I thought I was the best growing up.
Yeah.
And once I had that first game, I kind of realized like hockey's probably not my future. Like I should figure out other shit. So
first game,
yeah.
Wow.
Don't worry. I played for 2 years. I had a great time, made some good friends, but I kind of started thinking about what was next. And actually my journey got started my freshman year. I started an iPhone app.
Really?
And ended up getting fortunate enough to raise some money and actually leaving school my sophomore year. So I never finished college.
What was the app?
The app was called WeGo, which stood for Who Is Going Out, WIGO.
Okay.
And it kind of aimed to answer that age-old question of like, you're on a campus, like what's going on, who's going where, social network type thing. But
WeGo, that's dope.
WeGo, yeah. But through that experience, we were around for like 2 years. Ended up, failing. But I would say the lessons I learned through that have helped me so much in my next career, which is what I'm doing now.
What would you say the biggest lesson was in
actually,
that 2 year window?
For sure. So I was 21 years old. I had this company. We ended up raising $2 million from a bunch of big VC firms. It was the time when social was still like.
Yeah. What year is this? You were still in college? You're graduating college?
2015.
Okay.
I was a sophomore. I just dropped out.
Okay, got it.
And I had, I think at the time, 7 employees, and people were also leaving school to come work for. It was like this moment, and I didn't have partners. I was just me at the beginning. So when something bad would happen in the business, so for example, we would spend $5,000 and we would throw a party and we would get Penn State to like all download the app, right?
Yep.
We'd hire ambassadors, we'd do an event. 2 weeks later, Penn State would stop using the app. And that spoke to like the retention of the app and the app not being the right fit. But instead of me as like the CEO pausing and saying, hey guys, like what happened at Penn State? I would just look to the next school and get people and get my employees and my investors excited about the next school's growth, because I was too embarrassed as a young founder, and I felt so much pressure that like they invested in me. Oh my God, that's a lot of money. My employees like just quit their other job. That dude's 40. Like he's counting on me, and like, it's not working. So I felt like this cheerleader that constantly had to get people's excitement onto the next thing, and it was kind of this game of whack-a-mole where we would get excited for the next thing, but never pause and stop and look back and say, guys, something bad is happening with this school or with this service of the, this product. And I would say that's my biggest advice when I talk to young founders is like, if the numbers start to look bad in some aspect of your business, chances are if you don't address them head on, those numbers are going to either stay the same or get worse. Very rarely does like a stroke of luck or genius come. So my biggest advice is like, you're doing your business and your sales start to go down or some engagement goes down or something, stop, call a team meeting and be humble and say, hey guys, even if it's your company, if you're an employee, say, hey, this is bad and this will get worse if we don't actually figure out what's going on. And what you find is when you bring people together, like someone on your team or someone's going to have an idea that can change it. But if you're like too embarrassed to make that meeting, call that meeting, then oftentimes it'll just get worse. And so that's my biggest advice.
That's crazy. So I want to take a step back. Going from raise 2 million, 7 employees, was that like the first entrepreneurial venture that you started?
Yeah, my dad will say that I was like selling beer like along the beach when I was like 10 years old. But
that's so. What's your thoughts on raising money? If like, would you recommend it? What's your experience there? And what's your thoughts to that?
So I have pretty like polarizing experience in my 2 startups really.
Yep.
My first startup, we raised a bunch of like, it was kind of like as soon as the first check came in, other people in the industry were, throwing money at this thing because who wouldn't want to put $100,000 into potentially something that could get bought by Facebook, right?
Yep.
And so that was always, I kind of look back at that as like kind of bullshit because the app never had never made money. It was a free app.
Okay.
Like we ended up getting like 300,000 or 400,000 users across 2
Wow.
years. Wasn't like insignificant.
Yeah, that's sick.
But the app never made money. Like people forget about apps, like, or any service is like, they have to be a business. A business sells something, whether it's a service, a product, or something. Our app was free. The idea that all investors were saying was like, get 1 million users, and then you'll start to have value, or get 10 million users, then someone will pay for that audience, or you'll figure out a way to monetize that audience, right? Like maybe if they're deciding between 3 bars could bid like on Yelp to be at the top.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, my company was around for 2 years, never made $1. Like we never actually like sold any service or product, right? And what I'm doing now in making card games is like, it costs us, X amount of dollars to make the game in China. We sell it for Y amount of dollars here in the US. The difference, you have your expenses, you have overhead, you have rent, you have, sales expenses, stuff like that. But the difference is your profit. It's very simple business. And so like coming from this like freemium thing that was like, people potentially thinking one day it'll be worth something, versus now it's like, guys,
numbers game.
We have this much money, we can make this many games. If we sell it, we can make. It's so much more simple and refreshing, and it feels to me like a real business. And so when I talk to other, folks that have an audience or that have, the ability to reach a large audience, I think products is like the greatest thing. And I think the trend from like Kylie Jenner doing, her thing, what we're doing, look at, across the board influencers launching products, and I try to urge them away from just like, a clothing line. Like, don't just
like
make
beauty
t-shirts.
products. I think like Addison Rae, what she's doing with like Item Beauty and like that whole thing, like direct to consumer, capitalizing, actually building brands. Like you see a lot of the biggest influencers doing that now.
For sure. And it should be like on brand.
Yeah.
Like if you're an influencer, you have a niche in some way. If it's beauty, great. For us, it was memes, like great. And obviously you can parlay that into other stuff. But yeah, it's like the world opens when you start selling products to Target, Walmart. That's all I'll say.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, last question before we wrap up, Ben. What are you most excited about looking into the future of Fuck Jerry, Due to a Sign, and everything that you're a part of, especially the game side of things? Like, what are you most excited about?
It's a great question. I'd say for me, since I focus like pretty much all my time on the games business, we are at a juncture now where like we have become the #1 manufacturer of adult party games. So within games, there's family games, there's adult party games, there's kids toys like LOL Surprise. But in becoming #1, we've realized that for us to continue to grow as an overall business, we need to get into other subsectors of like the entertainment game category. So we have 2 of the most successful family games out right now. We have 3 games launching next summer that are like outdoor, like if you think of Spike Ball and like
that's dope.
Those kind of games, like so like sure it all started with What Do You Mean, but there's all this like gray space where we can use our clout within card games to more easily break into say outdoor lawn games or kids games or drinking games, stuff like that. So
love that.
I would say like as our company diversifies, that's what I stay up at night thinking about. And
that's so cool, man. Very cool. Well, for everyone watching, where's the best place for them to stay in touch with you and everything you have going on?
Yeah, Instagram's good. Kaplan, just my
Kaplan.
last name. Yeah.
I'll make sure to link down below. Well,
awesome.
Ben, thanks so much for coming on the show, man. I really appreciate it. You're the man.
Thanks.